When looking for an article, how do you tell what makes a good article? For example, if I do a Google search on effects of text messaging on English writing, and scroll down through the results to an intriguing article entitled, "Is Texting Killing the English Language?" How can I tell whether or not this website or article, is hard to tell what this is at this point, should be included in my research? Maybe a more fundamental question, how can I tell whether or not this content is a website or an article? Is there really any difference between them? While the line between the two is becoming less and less clear, there are some indicators that will help you tell them apart. Is texting killing the English language? This example, "Is texting killing the English language?" is actually an article. How can I tell? One of the ways to tell is that the logo for Time magazine is up in the corner. The authority is clearly noted, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the article, the author's credentials are listed. While this is clearly an article, should you include this in your research? While there's nothing wrong with reading this article to obtain some background knowledge on your topic, there is other content that can be more helpful. How do I know? Even though it is clear that this is an article in Time magazine, there are some red flags that might encourage you to look for content that has more depth. The first red flag that's being waved is brevity. This article is very brief and really provides just a basic overview of the topic. If you look back at the research triangle we discussed, articles tend to be at the top of the triangle, often providing detailed analysis of a topic, and not simply an overview. While not all articles doing this are necessarily bad, the brevity of this article is a red flag. Secondly is references. Basically, there are none. While there will be rare exceptions, almost all academic resources will have some references. The fact that there are none in this article is another caution. Thirdly, this article is from Time magazine. This also waves a red flag regarding whether or not this particular article should be used in research. Time magazine is just what it says it is. It's a magazine. The typical cover and the advertisements in it suggest that it is intended for the general public, not particularly an individual doing research on the effects of text messaging on English writing. These points suggest that this article should not be the end-all of your research endeavors. This does not mean that one should not read the article, but more so if you do find a point in this article that will help your argument, it would be helpful to look for more development of it in another resource. Let's go back to our Google search results and take a look at this one. This is a blog entitled Language Debates. Many of the same measurements that were used to assess the article from Time magazine can be used to assess the website. For example, who is the author? In this case, the author is an undergraduate English language student in the UK. This again is a red flag. Being an undergraduate student in and of itself does not give the author authority in the field. Having a doctorate, a master's degree, or even an undergraduate degree would give them a bit of authority, but lacking any of these does not. This blog does cite some sources. The fact that sources are cited is notable, but a brief overview of them notes a mix of notable sources and some that are not as notable. There are a handful of other concerns that this website has. For a thorough list of things to look at when assessing websites, journals, and/or magazine articles, take a look at this resource. It provides a great outline and some details as to what comprises resources that you should utilize in your research endeavors. Let's find a good resource. If we go back to our Google results, let's take a look at this one. There are a few things that should stand out. First, no graphics, no colors, no advertisements. This article will draw individuals who are interested in this topic. It will not draw them in using ulterior means. Secondly, the author. This article clearly states the author's qualifications. A third element that stands out in this article is the references. While not exhaustive, the references utilized are specialized and many are from other journals. If we go to the home page of this journal from which this article came, International Journal of English Linguistics, we see even more clues that lean toward this article being an excellent resource for research. The introduction to this website states that it is a peer-reviewed journal. The concepts of peer review and scholarly, when used for defining journals, are synonymous. They mean that the content of this journal has been reviewed and approved for publication by other scholars in the same area of study. In other words, reviewed by peers. From these signs, this article would be worth utilizing in your research. This presentation has talked about evaluating journals, magazines, and websites. It is helpful to become familiar with what makes a resource worth using and what are some of the signs that it might be leaning more towards popular usage instead of academic. If you have any further questions, please feel free to utilize the web resource that was listed earlier, or feel free to contact us. Thank you.